You got to be able to stop people at all three levels, and the Chiefs just got stronger at the second tier on defense. Drue Tranquill is back. What his contract means all the way around today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors, NFL fans, and Chiefs Kingdom around the world. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every single day here on YouTube, where we begin and can sometimes find us live even. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you get the notifications. And then you go out to Spotify and Apple, and you get on all the audio platforms because we're free 5 days a week, plus all year round. And you every dayers, we appreciate you, and we know that you know. You locos keep it grinding, and we appreciate that. You can also get us every single day. Wherever something happens, you're going to get a text on the text line. That's at 816-357-8781. Big contract here, one that we talked about when the season ended, but one that we're going to get into the details of. We're brought to you by Gametime today. Every single episode today is. And you can download the Gametime app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDON to get $20 off of your first purchase and get yourself in the game. A lot to go over of the details and its repercussions. He's Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. He's going to give you all the cap information, everything that you want on his Substack at Chiefs Corner or KC Corner, chiefscorner.com. And I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, where we do all the athleticism, all the advanced metrics, all the things that EPA doesn't tell you that you want to know about the NFL. You can find it at Rogue APC at NFL33.com, where me and my staff run down team building across the league, and then RGR Football, where you can check out Chiefs-specific content in the visual format. Lot to cover here because getting the linebacker group set when we had two major departures, two of the three starters were going to be in the wind in free agency. Willie Gay's been kind of telegraphing things. We're going to talk about him coming up, but we have to start with this big 3-year, $19 million deal for Drue Tranquill that we had theorized was a possibility. This came back even a little richer than I thought, but you had to have one of these guys back on the roster, in my opinion, to make a run at 3. What do you think of the deal?
You know, I've been sitting here trying to find more information on the deal because sometimes it just leaks out right after it gets announced. To me, I don't know. It sounds a little bit richer than I was expecting it to be, but at the same time, at this point, I think you're getting the numbers from probably the agent because this makes the agent look the best. And we'll find out the real numbers later. If we actually look at the deal, it's 3 years, $6.33 million a year APY, and $13 million guaranteed. We don't know what the signing bonus is. We don't really know anything else other than just those small parameters. But what I will tell you is if I go back and I look, I actually wrote a couple articles about L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones, and I compared back their contracts trying to get a baseline for what they could do, the Chiefs could do for those guys based on another contract they just signed with a defensive player, Justin Reed. So when Reed signed, he signed a deal for $31.5 million. His APY was $10.5 a year, and he received $20.458 million guaranteed. If you take those kinds of same parameters and kind of overlay it to this deal for Tranquill, you're really looking at probably a deal of 3 years, still $6.33 million, but that's probably also his signing bonus. And that becomes the key because his likely salary, and I would have to go look and see how many years he's had in the league, his likely salary is probably around $1.2 million, and his signing bonus being 6.3 would put his total cap number for the year around $3 million, maybe a little over $3 million, which is funny because that's exactly almost what the Chiefs are under on the salary cap right now is, according to over the cap, 3.46, I believe, which if they're doing this the kind of the same way that they've been doing some of their other contracts or what they did with Justin Reed, it's possible he could fit under the current salary cap availability. And when you look at that, that also probably means it's probably more like a 2-year deal and, $6 million a year or something like that. And the third year is just a big, bump.
Yeah, it's $13 million guaranteed, right? So that would leave, $6 at the back end that maybe is just sitting there as a lump that maybe doesn't get through. Well, we'll give you the details when we get them, folks.
Yeah, $1 million of that is going to be salary guaranteed for this year. I would imagine there's going to be some get salary guaranteed next year, maybe another bonus. Well, or it could all be salary next year. Who knows what they're going to do with the contract? But it is a 3-year deal, which funny enough, we actually talked about on yesterday's show, and I said I thought that he'd probably get a 2 or 3 year deal, and here we are, 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah,
and
I was hoping that the last drop in the cap was about $6.5 million. I was hoping that, but if they're still afloat, then they're still afloat, and if as long as they're under the cap, then they're going to be all right. According to the other site, Spot Track, this makes him the number 9 in APY linebacker in the league. Now, that contrasts a little bit because last time they spent a whole lot of money, they got themselves a leader at the linebacker level in Anthony Hitchens, but the contract didn't work out, and he didn't live up to that. And I think the way that they went about this is much more solid for the length and the structure of what they're trying to do in terms of being within striking distance every single season by giving him, what was it, 2.94 or something last season as a trial run rather than pulling him in and giving him the money, right?
Yeah, it was around 3.5 last year total, I believe, between workout bonus and different stuff. I think he came out to about 3.5, about the same as Mike Edwards. The interesting part of this is you're having this conversation, and you're probably still having a conversation with Nick Bolton as well. So now you have a baseline of what you would be paying in a Nick Bolton extension. And I mean, to be fair, if you could have both those guys starting for your team for just over, let's call it $13 million, close to $13 million a year between those two, I think you feel pretty good. I would imagine Bolton's going to come in much higher, but regardless, I do think that this is a good deal for Tranquill. It's a great deal for the Chiefs. This is a signing that absolutely, in my mind, needed to happen because he showed his value to this team, and it checks off one of the things you would need for next year.
Yeah. The best free agent is the first free agent, and it's your free agent. So Brett Veach getting it done, keeping stuff in-house. What else does it mean? What happens to Willie Gay because of this and because of the other factors? He's been talking a lot. This gives a little bit of clarity, but we're going to get to Willie Gay coming up next here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
Did you know that even if you have a 401k, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood is the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this. Now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply, and now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer.
If you want 24/7 coverage of everything going on in the National Football League, especially during free agency, make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today feed. It is 24 hours a day of all your favorite Locked On shows, giving you the information that you need, not necessarily just in this sport, but in every major news story. So check that out. The feed is here on YouTube all day long, all night long, every single day. Just like we have been talking about every single day is that the reconstruction of this roster, we always talk, and every 53 is different. Reconstructing this one is particularly challenging when you think a lot of the free agents want to have interest to come back. Drue Tranquill certainly did. That's a bonus to have him and Nick Leo available. Willie Gay has been very integral in probably the best coverage linebacker of the last season in this Super Bowl repeat. In being on the field, being available, understanding his assignment. It was his best season as a pro, in my opinion. And he peaked going into free agency as well. He has talked about going elsewhere, though, and he's kind of had that feeling. This, to me, in just the allocation of what you have coming, you're probably already talking about, like you said, with Nick Bolton preparing for that extension, knowing that that's coming. This is likely the end of Willie Gay in Kansas City. I think Willie's been right all along.
I can't argue that. And I would say, you look at the Tranquill deal, and while it's what you said, 9th, I believe, in APY across the NFL, which is a lot higher than I would have expected it to be. The other side of it is I think that if he probably got to free agency, he probably gets more. And I would think that Willie Gay is probably going to be a guy that pushes that number, if not even more, just because his size, his speed, his ability to cover. And don't get me wrong, I think he played phenomenal for Kansas City last year. I'd love to have him back with the Chiefs, and I would love to be wrong about what his market value would be. But I think somebody's going to be willing to pay him, and I don't think that they ever thought that they were going to be able to bring him back. The other reality with Willie Gay is that if you compare Willie Gay to Drue Tranquill, it's really hard to say Tranquill is not a more important player on this defense because he can play all three positions. Willie can't, and that makes it a little bit easier.
That is fair. Certainly about the position flexibility, but we have to give Willie his props. Nobody brings more energy to this team, particularly on the defensive front,
1,000%,
than Willie Gay.
1,000%.
And I see that as a deficit here. Like, they have to find another way to pump that up, either in free agency or the draft, but they've got to get more, not the quiet, the kind of jovial leadership or juice or challenge that you get from Chris Jones when he does get his feathers up. You know what I mean? But the day-to-day, I'm going to go, forgive me, folks, balls out every down. I'm going to bring my juice to the field for you guys to feed off of. They need somebody like that.
He's going to be the energy guy, and that's what he was in Kansas City, and I am 1,000% with you. That is something I 100% agree on. They are in a situation where they're going to lose that, and it stinks. The reality is that you're playing for your third Super Bowl in 3 years, and you can't keep everybody. I would love to, like I said, I would love to have Willie Gay here. I love what he brought to this roster. I will say, though, I think that this actually is going to work out better for Kansas City just because Tranquill can step into his starting role. Maybe he's not going to be as good at the pass, but Tranquill and Bolden and Leo all together is going to be a fun linebacking group to go watch.
And right now you have to. You have to have a linebacker crew you can lean on. We know that they've been more susceptible against the run than the pass in recent years. They're going to continue that. That is their brand at this point.
Yep.
They're going to dare you to run on them enough to win because generally it ain't going to happen. The difference here is the guys that protect the linebacker level, the defensive tackles, it's a barren wasteland right now of guys that can start in this league and you think can protect and keep guards off of those linebackers. And so this is just part one of what is a two-step process to stealing yourself against the run.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough. You look at what Willie brought to this team, and one of the things, obviously, is the energy we already kind of talked about. Another was almost, and I hate saying this because it's such an overused term at times, but sideline to sideline speed. I mean, he had it. He had speed. That was one of the things that he had to burn. He didn't read it near as well as what some of the other players have done, and definitely not near as well as Bolton. And I think that that's the other thing that is going to play into Kansas City's advantage. While they'll lose the energy and they'll lose a little bit of speed when it comes to Tranquill. Tranquill reads it so much quicker and so much better than Willie does. I think that that's probably going to even out a little bit. You
got to hope so, because you have to have that ability to react, because it's only going to get more, I think, emphasized as teams try to find a weakness, a chink in the armor. We'll see what happens with, obviously, the two big stars that we've been talking about nonstop and what that does to their respective position groups.
Please quit the cryptic tweets. Please.
Yeah, for the love of God, stop with 6 periods. Okay, I just can't take it. But that will put more pressure on this position group. What does that position group look like? That's where we have to get to next. Who has a possibility in-house to take over, play some more snaps? What does it look like? Coming up next on Locked On Podcast Network. We all know it's hard to get tickets to Arrowhead, and it's even harder if you're trying to go to a Jayhawk basketball game, but you shouldn't have to worry about the tickets for the next big event that you want to get to. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports events, music venues, comedy, and even theater events near you with great last-minute deals, all-in prices. You can view the seat from the app as well as the best price guarantee. Gametime takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets to your next event. And to see that seat from the beginning, that's the big thing for me. I want to know where I'm going to be and what my view is going to be. It's the best feature out there. All in prices, no hidden fees, all up front. It's a great deal that you can check it out. And you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app. create an account, and use our code Locked On for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, you just have to create the account and use the redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. It's the best way to go about it. Gametime, get it today. It's last minute tickets, it's lowest prices, and it is guaranteed. What's also guaranteed is that you're going to have some depth, especially at the second level of this team, whether it is to be on the field on the defense or what has traditionally been happening on this particular roster in playing special teams. When we take a quick look at what the depth chart looks like at this point, obviously Willie Gay, we expect to be departed at this point. Bolton, Leo, now Drue is back. That leaves you a couple of backups. I thought we had a positive season from Cam Jones, and I think we've seen a ton of special team snaps from both Jack Cochran and Cole Christensen. I think both of them are options, although I believe they are both restricted rights free agents as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe you're right. I'd have to look at that for sure. Let me double check on that. But that does sound right.
And that is not to discount Darius Harris, who's been on and off and back and forth onto the practice squad here, and he will still be a reliable option because they like him and he knows the system, and I do think he'll be in the mix going into camp at least.
Yeah, it does look like Jack Cochran's an EFRA. Okay. So is Cole Christensen. So they will both be back. And that's another thing that we haven't really talked about too much is that EFRAs and RFAs have to be all done before free agency kicks off. So that's going to be something that the Chiefs that'll be coming out over the next couple of days because free agency kicks off in just less than a week now.
So what happens? This is what happens when you win a Super Bowl. You don't have any time to think. I can't believe that we already have to be designated tags and EFRAs. And okay, so the tenders will come out. They're more than likely to get those guys back, and it's really at the team's discretion. There could be a possibility that they don't bring both back. I see that as kind of a long shot. I do expect them both at this point. I think Darius is more of a question. I don't believe it's a long-term contract for him currently. So still out there. And then I do think that there's a possibility that other free agents could be involved. It's a run on safeties right now. Everybody in the world in this league is dropping their safeties, starters, Pro Bowlers, or otherwise.
Corners too.
Yeah, the same thing could happen at the linebacker level. I don't think this is a great draft class, but expect them to bolster it beyond just Cam Jones, who I think can give you reliable snaps at outside. I don't think he's necessarily a middle. He might be able to give you some Sam as well. He's functionally strong. But then Christensen and Cochran, I think, give you a little bit more versatility. And they've experimented with them in different positions. That could be the group going forward. It'll be for competition if somebody beats them out.
Well, and I think that when you look at this group, I would say that if Nick gets hurt next year, Tranquill's going to be the middle again. And then you bring up a guy like Cam Jones. So to me, I don't really know that they're going to need to go out and go get a free agent. I think that they would probably be feeling pretty good about Cam Jones being the next guy up because you already have a middle linebacker or a guy that can step in and play a middle linebacker. So I think you could feel pretty good about that. So I don't see them necessarily bringing somebody in. The one thing that I would say is that I would always believe that they could be looking at, maybe there's a 7th round pick guy or a late round pick guy that they like at linebacker that just drops, that they don't understand why he drops. Maybe they go get a guy like that, or maybe they bring in an undrafted free agent eventually after the draft to kind of come in and challenge some of those guys that they didn't expect to be out there, or who knows? I mean, we've had UDFAs come in and make the roster that you would never expect. So lots of different ways that could go.
Yeah, if the Chiefs are able to secure another late day 3 pick, I think that would be the perfect usage. There are a couple of guys who tested really well at the combine that show the athleticism, that don't necessarily have all the tools you want on the defensive side, but should be perfect for teams. And that's exactly the kind of role that I think that they'll have available. We'll run that down here for you next week and the week after. As we get I'm a little surprised we get to talk linebackers already. I didn't think this was going to happen right off the bat. So cheers. We move this up and we'll move some of the combine talk back.
Yeah, I'm happy it happened, but at the same time, I do think that this is kind of one of those things where I was expecting Chris Jones to be the only guy that was going to get signed before free agency started. I figured the Tranquill deal would be something that would come maybe the first couple of days of free agency if they got something done with Jones. But at this point, I mean, obviously it's a great deal for Drue. It's a great deal for Kansas City, and it puts them in a great position for the linebacker position for next year in 2024 and really in 2025 as well. I mean, worst case scenario, if you want to keep Bolton and Tranquill together, you could franchise Bolton. I don't think you'd want to do that. That'd be way too expensive. The cap number for linebackers is way outside of what you'd want to pay. But you do have
center?
that.
That's my question.
What was that?
Is it more than a center? That's my question.
Yeah. So not the way you want to go with that, but knowing where Tranquill is makes me feel better about what they could probably do with Bolton. I'm guessing they're going to give him more money than Bolton would, or than Tranquill got, but I don't expect it to be so outlandish that it would be much more.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong on that.
That's fair. I'm trying to look age-wise. I don't think they're in any certain danger. What is he? He's 28 now. This contract will take him up till he's 30. And I think that will probably be a point where he can call it a career. And one more Golden Domer linebacker rides off into the sunset. I think this is the height of what we've seen him play at. And I think that you can expect that to be locked down for the next 2 years.
It was the height of what he's played at, but it's also he bought into the system. He bought into what Spags wanted, and Spags knew how to use him exactly. And the big thing, and I think that this gets overlooked by everybody, quite honestly, is the Chiefs are so lucky in some of the guys that they're able to find.
Sometimes when Chris's connection goes wild, stranger things have happened. But I think what we'll rejoice in the fact is that this is a full buy-in from a player that can help the Kansas City Chiefs going forward. And we're going to have plenty more for it. What was your thought?
I was just going to say, I think we don't give enough credit to football IQ. It is played huge on this defense and even on offense. And, I know we're talking defense right now, but one of the reasons that Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the NFL and probably in the best in NFL history is because of his football IQ. It's because of what he sees on the field, how he sees the field, and how he's able to manipulate what he does on the field to get open and to help his teammates and do everything else. And, if they can continue to go down that road and find those types of players, you can get back to having a three-peat a lot easier than you would if you didn't.
Chiefs had significant holes in free agency at 3 levels on the defense. You can check one of those boxes off. The second level is now taken care of for the foreseeable future. That's going to do it for us. We appreciate you guys joining us, being with us here today. Remember, we're going to break everything down as it happens. If we get any kind of last-minute news, you'll have a special episode from us. You'll hit the text line. Make sure you're subbed over there. Make sure you're subbed and liked and hit that bell here on YouTube and get on the audio platforms. Check out Locked On Sports today. We appreciate you guys being with us. Have a great one.